Hi, I'm Lane. Let's talk about solving an absolute value inequality problem type 3. Problems like this. The way that I'm going to show you how to solve this is not going to be like this explanation, because I've seen that oftentimes students try to memorize like this exact paragraph, and it can be confusing. So I'm going to show you the way that I like to do it, and I hope that this is a little bit more helpful. This problem says the absolute value of w plus 4 is less than 5. Instead of w plus 4, first I want you to consider this problem. What if it said the absolute value of x is less than 5? Could you graph that? Let's make a number line down here. We'll label the 0, and what this expression means is all of the numbers that are less than a distance of 5 away from 0. So between 5 and negative 5, these are the numbers that this inequality represents, not including negative 5 or 5. Now I'm going to express the information in this graph a different way. These are the numbers that are between negative 5 and 5. So we could write that in an inequality like this, right? This graph shows us where x is greater than negative 5 and less than 5. What's the difference between this inequality and this one down here? Only the inside part of the absolute value. So if I said that x equals w plus 4, that solves our problem. So in this compound inequality over here, instead of the x, I'm going to write w plus 4. And now we can solve this for w. If we subtract 4 from all three sides like this, on the far left over here, we're going to have negative 5 minus 4, that's negative 9. Then we have a less than sign. These plus 4 and minus 4 cancel out, so there's just w in the middle. On the right-hand side, we have 5 minus 4, which is 1. So w is in between negative 9 and 1. So I'm going to put that on the graph. So we put the negative 9, we put the 1, and we put the line between them. Now, before I move on, I want you to think about what the difference is between this graph that I drew down here and the one that we gave for our answer. The difference is our answer is shifted to the left by 4. That's what the effect of the plus 4 on the inside of the absolute value signs is. Okay? Okay, so again, I'm going to use a different variable. I'm going to say, let's use w this time. So I'm going to say let w equal x plus 5. And so this expression would become absolute value of w greater than 3. Now we just have to make a simple, quick sketch of a graph for this. This means those numbers that are more than 3 away from 0. So those are the numbers that are outside of this range between 3 and negative 3. Okay, so this is how you would graph absolute value of w greater than 3. Now, to solve our problem, we're going to keep this in mind, and we're going to write an inequality that represents the values of w without the absolute value signs. So from this graph down here, I could write that w is less than negative 3 and w is greater than 3. So let me write that down. W is less than negative 3, or w is greater than 3. Okay? Now, to relate this to our problem, since w equals x plus 5, we can replace these two w's with x plus 5. So x plus 5 is less than 3, or x plus 5 is greater than 3. And now we solve both of these for x. So we need to subtract 5 from both sides in both of these inequalities. So x is less than -8, or x is greater than -2. And that's what we graph for our answer. So we pick -8 and -2, and the lines are on the outside, right? W is less than -8, W is greater than -2. And again, this graph that we put for our answer is related to the first one that we sketched down here. The only difference is it's shifted to the left by 5, which is the effect of the +5. Okay, I'd like to do a few more problems with you. Let x equal v minus 3, so that our inequality here would be absolute value of x is less than or equal to 7. And let's make a graph for this. This down here is going to be the graph of x, not the graph of v, which will be our answer. What does this inequality mean? This means those numbers that are closer than or as close as 7 to 0. So these are the numbers that are in between -7 and +7. Every one of these would have a distance from 0 of at most 7. Now we're going to express this graph using a inequality. It would be -7 is less than x and less than 7. Right? This inequality up here means the same thing as this graph down here. Basically, that x values are in between -7 and 7. And since x is v minus 3, we can replace x with v minus 3. Now, to solve this inequality for v, we would add 3. -4 is less than v is less than 10. And let's graph that. Oops, I should have had or equal to in every one of these, because that's what we started with here. Sorry about that. And so that means we're going to use the solid circles on -4 and 10. And the line goes between them because the v is between them right there. And what's the difference between the graph that we put for our answer and the graph of x? Well, it's shifted to the right 3 places. That's the effect of a -3 on the inside. Okay, let's do one more together. I'm going to say let x equal v minus 2. Then we're going to make a graph of the absolute value of x is less than 7. So this means the numbers that are closer to 0 than 7, right? Or the distance, all of the numbers whose distance from 0 is less than 7. So that's these numbers in the middle. This is the graph of x down here. To come up with the graph of v, which is our answer, we need to first write an inequality that represents this graph down here without absolute values. This graph means x is between -7 and 7. So we can write -7 is less than x is less than 7. Now, since x equals v minus 2, we can replace x with v minus 2. And we can solve for x by adding 2 to all 3 sides. So we would have -5 is less than v is less than 9. And that's what we should graph. -5, 9, line between them. Okay, and what's the graph? What's the difference between the graph of v and the graph of x that we put on the bottom? The graph of v is shifted to the right by 2, right? Instead of going from -7 to 7, it goes from -5 to 9. That's because of this -2 on the inside. Excellent. I hope that that helped you. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment. I'm going to put some links up here to other videos in this objective. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.